Okay, then. Here goes. All right. Welcome to the Mindcraft Podcast. My name is Kimberly Quinn, and I am here with the amazing Amber DeVos of The Seduxe. She is a dating and love life coach. And I'll tell you that I met Amber out in Sacramento with a mastermind group we're a part of, and I was so pulled in by her energy and her enthusiasm and what she has to say about the sort of state of romantic relationships in the current times that I asked her to be a guest because she's going to be amazing. So thank you, Amber, for being with us today.
Oh my gosh, Kimberly, thank you so much for your invitation today. I'm so excited to be here with you and your audience. And yeah, our meeting in Sacramento was so very memorable. So it's wonderful to reunite and also be able to contribute to the big things that you're up to in the world.
Totally, Amber, because gosh, I am so excited to kind of relive some of what you were talking to me about over a nice glass of wine that evening in Sacramento, which is sort of, especially since loneliness is an epidemic in the States anyway, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's maybe start by telling us about your clients. So you're a dating and love life coach.
Yes.
Talk to me about who you serve.
Yeah. So typically my clients are very successful professionals and other people who are up to big things in the world. But for whatever reason, they just can't quite seem to find that same level of success in their love lives. And so, previous to being a dating and love life coach, because I've been doing this for about 5 years now, is I was a professional celebrity and portrait photographer in New York City for over 15 years. And so my mission then was to help people fall in love with themselves. And my mission now is still to help people fall in love with themselves and other people. So to help people combat loneliness, I think especially post-COVID, because we were mostly shut inside of our houses for 2-3 years, like a pretty significant amount of time. And I think in that period of time, we had that opportunity to get comfortable with our own company and also very uncomfortable with our own company, which means that, communicating with other people, going out and socializing, going out and learning how to just connect with other strangers again has absolutely been a huge struggle. But it's, not just COVID. I mean, loneliness is something that we've all struggled with one way or another, and especially when it comes to dating and love life. Why? Because yes, self-love is really important and having self-confidence is incredibly important, but there are people out there that will tell you, oh, you don't need external validation. You don't need other people to tell you who you are. I call BS on that because, yes, we do need other people. We need other people. As nice as it would be to not need other people, we absolutely need other people.
I agree.
Yeah, but just because we need other people doesn't necessarily mean we know how to communicate with other people or connect with other people. And so that's something that I particularly focus on when I serve my clients. So, like I said, very successful individuals who are killing it in their careers, who have elevated themselves to a particular level where they now are finally ready to jump into relationships. And yet there's just that missing piece of how do I approach people? How do I connect with people? How do I understand other people? So I have 6 pillars to the work that I do because every person's unique. I wish I could say here's just a pan formula that works for everybody and just do it and it's
right.
When I work one-on-one with people, obviously there's different nuances, but regardless, it's of course confidence, right? So the ability to trust yourself, the ability to trust in other people, that ability to just walk into a situation and know you've got it. The second is communication. So obviously there's no relationship without communication, being able to be with another person, and it's not just talking but also listening. It's connection. So being able to connect with somebody else. And in the world of dating and love life, I like to say it's understanding the opposite sex, right? Because how many times have we been with somebody that we really care about, and at the same time it's what do you mean? I don't understand why you're doing this. I don't understand why things are happening. So helping people understand that. And then of course, character. So character is one of those things that I think a lot of people overlook, and yet it's that thing, the very essential thing is that character is who we are behind closed doors. Or another way to look at it, it's our value system, right? So it's what drives us, it's what informs us, it's what inspires us to be who we are in the world. And especially when it comes to dating and love life, having alignment on character is really important. It doesn't mean you have to be exactly the same, but at least align on the same values. And then I like to say, if you nail all those four, then you have a charisma, or Riz, as the kids call it these days. So charisma, a lot of people think that charisma is something that you're born with. Either you have it or you don't. And yes, there's plenty of people in the world who are just, walk out of mom going like, hey, everybody, I'm charming. Yeah, fine. However, there are people who aren't as lucky, but if you can learn confidence, connection, communication, and character, if you can really nail those things, then naturally you become charismatic, which is magnetic, which is somebody who attracts other people just by the very way that you walk into a room. Of course, it doesn't have to be romantic, but doesn't hurt when it is. And then number six, the last little pillar, it's not so little, is courage. And courage is action in the face of fear. And I would say the biggest reason why people come to me is because they know they want something different. They know that what they're doing isn't working for them. And yet they're just being kind of held back by the fear of failure and the fear of success, right? So really taking on courage, which is action in the face of fear, is really the only way that you're ever going to get what you truly want out of life. Because as you know, like there's no growth in our comfort zones, right? So it takes a lot of courage.
Right.
Yeah, it takes a lot of courage to kick yourself out of the nest, right? And like
right.
Play. Yeah. So,
can you repeat those for me, Amber? Because I think confidence, communication. What was the third one?
Yeah, so confidence, communication, connection, character, charisma, and
courage.
Yeah,
I got you. So the 6 C's.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So let's maybe talk about, I like how you said fall in love with yourself too, though, because can we really love anybody else if we aren't in alignment with our own self?
Yes, we can absolutely love other people if we're not in alignment with ourselves, but can we trust that they love us if we're not in love with ourselves? Yeah, because if you don't love yourself, then it's really hard to accept or appreciate or even trust that somebody loves you, because it's like inevitably we have self-doubt. We have those like little voices in our head that say, yeah, you're good, but not good enough. Yeah, you did this, but it wasn't like it can be quite overwhelming. And I find the majority of the single people that I work with, that little nagging, nasty little voice of self-doubt is pretty loud. And so inevitably, because I worked for quite a few years as a matchmaker, right? And I love helping introduce people to each other and helping make matches. In fact, actually, one of my clients just got engaged over the eclipse, literally as the sun and then, it's converging. That's when the ring went on the finger. I mean, how romantic is that, right? But with that said, it's like, unless you're really able to trust that somebody can love you, you're always going to wonder, you're always going to doubt, you're always going to sit there and say, but do they really love me? Do they really love me? And that is very, very hard to wrestle with. And so, the reason why we're coaches, right? And I imagine this is the same for you in your world, is that everybody has blind spots. So my favorite analogy is that I put my hands up on either side of my head here, right? So I don't know if this is a visual podcast or whatever, but the point is that my hands are on either side of my face in such a way that I personally can't see them. But Kimberly, you can see them very easily, right?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So this is why we have coaches. This is why we have mentors. This is why we have people in our lives that help us really see things that we aren't always capable of seeing. It's not because it's not there. It's just because it's not in our purview of vision. And oftentimes that self-love kind of lives in this blind spot over here. It lives in that with like, I want to have a relationship, and yet I don't understand why I don't have one. And part of it is like, with the whole matchmaking thing, getting to my original point. Sorry, the dog and the gardener, guys.
We call it human. Don't worry about it.
At the DeVos house. So as a matchmaker, what I realized is that there were a lot of people who said, Amber, it's just an inventory problem. If only I had better people to choose from. If only I had more people to choose from. If only I had the best person to choose from, my love life would be super easy. And yes, for some people that is in fact true. But what I realized is that for a lot of people, I made really fantastic matches. Ticked off every checkbox, personality match, lots of wonderful things, and my clients would still find fault with the person. And it wasn't fault with the person. I realized it was them finding fault with themselves in such a way that I could have introduced them to the most perfect person ever, it still wouldn't have worked out. And so that's why I really, really love the focus on the coaching, is because it's like, guys, you got to love yourself first. You have to. And then you live in a world of abundance and acknowledgement, so that
Yes, yes, yes.
person, it's like butter. It's like butter, as they say. It's like butter.
No, Amber, I love that because, of course, I'm sure you and I listen to a lot of the same podcasts because so many of the greatest thinkers. You think of Wayne Dyer, think of Abraham, they're all he's saying like if you want to manifest whatever. We're talking about relationships here right now, but let's say it's
Yes,
money or
yeah.
house, whatever.
Whatever.
You gotta actually feel it. You got to believe it. In fact, Wayne Dyer's a book like that. I think you got to believe it before you can see it. Like you
Yeah.
got to feel without being attached to exactly what the partner looks like, right?
Yes.
Feel the worthiness.
Yes.
Feel the person walking in and not coming at it with needy energy.
Yes. And also just know that you're worth it no matter what. And because I feel like there's a lot of dating and love life coaches out there that are very focused on the coupling of, which of course, like, yes, we want a partner, we want to have someone to go through life with, but there's no shame in being single, right? And being able to embrace that and just have fun dating is also really important. And I think that's kind of a step that a lot of people miss. Is like, oh man, I went on another date and it didn't turn into a couple.
Oh, yeah.
And then they start beating themselves up. But it's like, well, did you have a nice time? Did you meet an interesting human being? Did you have a fun conversation? Did you learn something new? Did maybe you make a new friend? Yeah, like there's so many ways to embrace dating. And that's why I say, like, I help people date with ease and have more fun. It's not necessarily that every date's going to turn into something, but rather like, how amazing is it to be able to connect with another human being and spend some time with them and dive into their world and invite them to dive into yours. And even if it doesn't turn into anything, you know, I've met so many interesting people that were glancing moments that turned into significant impacts down the line of my life, right?
Oh, 100%. I think it goes into that whole letting go and allowing mode because it seems like, again, we're talking about relationships specifically, but like whenever we're glued to an outcome and just coming at it with needy energy, I can only be happy.
Oh, man.
I'm attached to outcome. Well, we're not going to be happy if our needs are out here anyway.
Yeah.
But when we're not, when we let go, it seems like that's when it all happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And then let go, because like, guess what? It doesn't happen and it's fine because you're still here. You know, you've literally survived 100% of the things that have happened to you so far. Because you know how you know that? Because you're still here.
Good point. That's a good point. That's a super good point. I'm wondering, Amber, I wonder if you can come up with, like a story or two of a maybe a success, maybe I don't know what success means because I guess you could define that in lots of different ways. Like not necessarily getting engaged and married, like you say, but a successful journey. And then the other question I want to ask, you can pick whichever one you want to do first. Some of the biggest blockers for people, like no matter you're coaching them, but like what's getting in the way?
Yeah. Well, so I will tell you, the client that did just get engaged, not because the engagement is a success story, but getting to the engagement is a success story. And his story actually encompasses both of your questions. So this man was 44 years old when he came to me. So very successful surgeon, comes from a good family, East Indian heritage. And he had been very, very focused on his career and education, to the point that he's 44 years old, never really had a serious girlfriend, never been married, never had any kids. And the girlfriends that he had were, now, of course, we all only hear one side of the story, but based on what he shared with me, is they were definitely not good or healthy fits for him. Now, doesn't mean that those women won't find happiness elsewhere in life, but let's just say like they were not good pairs when he shared them with him. And so his biggest concern was like, Amber, am I damaged goods? Am I broken? Am I repellent to people because I'm 44, never married, no kids, and full disclosure, he's 5'5". Right. So in the world of dating as a matchmaker, my goodness, the number one request I got from all of my female clients, from 5 feet up to, 6 foot, he has to be 6 foot over. 6 foot over. So little secret to you ladies out there who demand 6 feet over, only 14% of the male population in the United States is over 6 feet. half of them are married, half of the unmarried are gay. So that literally leaves you, what's the math on that? Less than 4% of the male population that matches your height requirement. So give it up. Give up your height requirements. That's a huge blockage. Give it up. Okay. So he's 5'5", 44, never married, no kids, focus on his career. What is he going to do about it? And so it was really like working with him to help him understand that, like, first of all, let's work on you, helping you fall in love with yourself and really get what you bring to the table, that you're intelligent, that you're funny, that you're kind, that the fact that you've been so focused on your career and education is actually a bonus to some people, because like, wow, somebody who's so dedicated is going to be successful, is not going to be a bum, right? Because there are those ladies out there that love the bad boys. And yes, of course, they're sexy because their confidence is off the charts, but they're also, that's a whole nother podcast we can do. That's a whole nother podcast we can do, right? But it was really just helping him embrace who he was, what he brought to the table, what actually made him a wonderful person to be with, and help him get over his own what is it called? Like, just kind of putting himself down, right? Because it's like an Olympic athlete. You want to win the gold. There's no Olympic athlete that walks up to the starting line and goes, I suck at this. I'm damaged goods. I'm not a fast runner. I'm not. Do you think that person's ever going to win the gold? Absolutely not.
And they rehearse victory, actually, mentally.
There it is. Rehearse victory. That's exactly right. So that's where we started with him, was like, okay, so what are we working with? What do we got here? And yes, of course, there were areas of improvement. So helping him identify his character, because character is always there, but it's not always easy to identify, because often our character kind of lives in our blind spots. And of course, we always have our light and shadow sides, right? So the light sides are the nice parts of us. The shadow sides are the parts that we wish people didn't know, but they're still there. So you always have to embrace that and own it and not be afraid of it, because guess what? It's not going anywhere. So, one of my favorite quotes, and I don't remember who said it, but is that you're never too much for somebody who can't get enough of you.
I love that.
You guys can write that down. You're never too much for someone who cannot get enough of you.
I love that. That is like a quote for the age. Is that an Amber original?
Yeah, it's not an original, but if you want to give it to me, I'll take it.
Totally. I love that, because our youngest daughter and I were on the Fast Mind Club, right? We talk about, she came up with it, that she's like, Mom, you and I are like really decadent chocolate cake. Because at first, you can't wait to sink your teeth into that first piece. 3 bites in, you're done. Like,
right. And then you're like, oh man, it was too much. And then like 3 hours later, you're like, wait a minute. I need a little bit more.
It's such a good analogy. Yeah. So I'm wondering, Amber, if you could talk to us about, because I love the blockers and I love the example of the 5'5" East Indian 44-year-old surgeon.
Oh yeah, so his now fiance, just heads up, right? She's 5'9". Okay.
I love this. This is a good story. This is such a good story.
Yeah, and it's so funny because they've known each other for years. And in fact, they had like a little bit of a romantic history in the past. Not romantic, let's just be blunt about it. They were friends with benefits. And, I took him on so many dates and so many apps and through so many different experiences. And then he kind of started telling me about this woman. And I said, well, wait a minute, why are you not dating her? And he's like, well, because of this and because of that and because of this. And I was like, no, it wasn't just height. It was just, there were other things. And what I realized, it was him doubting him doubting himself,
that he's desirable, right?
He was desirable. Oh. And so when I was like, dude, this woman is doing everything she possibly can to communicate with you without like beating you over the head that she likes you.
Right.
So, it was like really encouraging him to embrace himself and just give up all of his like blockages. Like, I'm too much this, I'm not enough this, I've blah, 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 whatever he came up with. And so here we are, just a few days ago, they're now engaged.
That is so wonderful. So yeah. I'm wondering, Amber, because I'm guessing it sounds like, plus I'm remembering from our conversation on that lovely place on the pier there.
Oh, we were on a riverboat on the Sacramento
River, whatever it was. It was so cool. Yeah, I was listening to you so intently, which is hence why we're here right now, because it was so good. Because I think that this is a huge issue right now. It's interesting because so many people talk about Gen Z, and they are certainly have their own set of all this going on too. But the fact you're talking about midlifers, so it's not just the pandemic, like you were saying. It's not just social media because that's a lot of the Gen Z issue.
Mm.
Yeah, both of those things can play a role here.
Oh
But it
yeah.
seems like it's really the self doubt demons that are so what is your process? Like, how does it, let's say I walk in, I find you on the internet or on this podcast and
Mm.
say, wow, Amber, help me. I'm 39 or 51 or 28 or whatever I am.
Sure.
Like, so how do you, like, what's the process with you? Because you got to a place with him. There had to be like a path
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
him to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, without giving away the farm here, the easiest way that I can say it is that typically the thing that you wish you could change about yourself is
Yeah.
actually the greatest thing about you. What needs to shift is your perspective around it.
I
Okay.
love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. And one of my favorite books, and I'll give this to your audience. And I'm not getting paid for this, but one of my favorite books ever is called Deeper Dating. It's by Ken Page. And he talks about your core gifts and he dives a little bit deeper. Now, with that said, like, you're supposed to go through this book with a professional. You're supposed to go through this book with somebody who can kind of be that like bright light in your dark shadow blind spots. But more or less, it's that thing that because most people, when they come to me, the number one question, whether or not they actually verbalize it or they don't, is the underlying question is, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me?
Right.
What's wrong with me? So that's like self-doubt with neon lights, right? Like, what's wrong with me?
Right. It goes right back to, I'm guessing, way back there, right? Because those
Yeah.
seeds were planted.
Yes. Once upon a time, somebody told us we were too much. We were too
Right.
much. We weren't enough. We were this, we were that. And we took it as truth as opposed to understanding that it's just someone's opinion. Right. And the sad truth is that when somebody says something to us, when we take it as truth, it's because we agree with them. Right. Doesn't mean they're right. Doesn't mean we're right, but we find agreement in it.
We make
And
a
that,
commitment with it. Yes.
oh man, and that's what we wrestle with as coaches. So I've chosen dating and love life just because it's like fun and sexy, right? But like self-doubt is something that's pervasive in all areas of life, right? Whether it's being a mom or a parent or somebody in a profession or trying to try something
Entrepreneurial
new or
wise.
anything, right? Self-doubt is absolutely like the most corrosive. It's the most corrosive thought pattern that we have. And yet it's also what makes us beautifully human because there is no growth in our comfort zones, right? So it's like if we were comfortable, if we were happy with everything, if we were whatever, like, then we just stay where we are, right? So it's like we have to be uncomfortable in order to grow. We have to like kind of step outside and go, wait a minute, yeah, something isn't working for me. I don't like it. I want to do something different about it. So typically my advice is that if there's something that A, you're asking yourself what's wrong with me, or B, you know exactly what's wrong with you, it's about shifting your perspective on it. Like for me, I'm a very powerful, opinionated person, right? And yes, that can be a huge turnoff to a lot of people. And once upon a time, I used to be quite like sad about that. They're like, I don't know how, like, I wish it could be different. I wish it could, blah, blah, blah. Now, can we swear on this podcast? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So fuck it. Fine. You don't like my powerful personality, then you're not for me. I'm not going to make myself small to fit into your world, right?
Oh,
I'm just going to
absolutely.
be who I am and embrace it, the light and the shadow side of it. And either you love it, embrace it, we wrestle with it in a fun way, or it's not for you, in which case there's no reflection on my sense of self-worth because I'm not a fit for somebody. Does that make sense?
No, 100%. It's very Brene Brown. I'm thinking how she says, we never negotiate who you are. Like never. And I like how you said use the word corrosive, because I thought of, when you use the word corrosive, Amber, I thought of, I actually envisioned battery acid, like just toxic, just eating away at you, which is what that is shame, right? That's the feeling of defective, flawed, not enough, damaged goods.
Yes.
The client even said something along those lines. And I also liked how you said about changing the perspective, kind of like my youngest daughter, also in the Fast Mind Club, how we use the decadent cake example, because we do laugh about it. We're
Yeah.
like, you're high energy. and we've a lot to say about a lot of things,
Hmm.
and we love that about ourselves.
You have to, because it's like hating your eye color or hating the shape of your hands. Like it's what's so it's what you live in this, and so it's like it never ever will serve you to hate the things that you were given, right? And whatever your spiritual leaning is, right? Like your manifestation in this world and the body you've been born with is like what you've been given. That's a physical manifestation, but we have mental, emotional, lots of things. Now, with that said, it doesn't mean that we don't need work and we can't need help, and like going to the gym is better than not going to the gym, right? Like obviously there's always room for improvement, but there's a difference between wanting to be the best version of yourself or a better version of yourself versus beating yourself up and wishing you were somebody different.
Oh my gosh, they're polar opposites, right? Being
Aren't
the
they?
best, that's my goal in life is to be the best me I can be, 100%.
The
And what
most decadent chocolate cake.
the most decadent chocolate with like
You're
strawberries on
never gonna not be chocolate cake. Yeah.
and like the raspberry filling, like all of it, right? And I'm
Sprinkle.
thinking, yeah, totally, little shavings. And then one last thing, Amber, I was thinking when you were, because you said a bunch, you dropping wisdom bombs all over the place.
I hope you're all
This
taking notes.
totally well because you were talking about the agreement. So Miguel Ruiz, if you've read him, the Four
Yes,
Agreements,
of course. Yeah.
because you tripped that chord in my brain that went because, like you said, what so and so Aunt Tessie said to me at 3 years old or 2 years old, which means I don't even remember it. It's
Mm-hmm.
still in the vault,
Mm-hmm.
looking subconsciously, unconsciously to be confirmed when we're 40,
Yeah.
or the worst of its mom, whoever took care of you mostly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all that stuff. But how you say it doesn't have to be true, especially when we're a child, because we're
Yeah.
looking up to the people saying, and so we make agreements. We're not even saying that they necessarily said it maliciously. Who
Right.
knows? We're not going to even go there because that's a bigger
Yeah.
thing. But whatever was said that was, you're not a good dancer, you can't sing, we did whatever.
Yeah.
You talk too much, you stutter, blah, blah, blah. But then we then form an agreement with it,
Yeah.
and that goes into our hard drive,
Oh yeah.
into the 44-year-old man
Yeah.
trying to not be alone and enjoy share his life with somebody.
Mhm.
I just liked how you're talking about like we gotta like think of the agreement like a twig and like snap it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is that inevitably we find people who agree with us. And I love that you brought up that word is that there we all have patterns. We all have
Right.
patterns, especially in our dating lives. And so when someone comes to me and says, well, I've had, 5 partners who all have this same thing. Why do I keep choosing these people? Because it's the same person, different faces. Why?
Different outfit, right.
Yeah. Why do I keep choosing this? And it's because somewhere they agree with your opinion of yourself.
Oh,
And if you're
100%.
finding that you're having negative experiences, especially in your dating life, it's because sadly you have a negative experience of yourself. And so it's inevitable that you go along with people who agree with you. So there are people, especially like my clients, who, when somebody wants to just love on them, right? It's not hard. There's not a lot of fighting. There's not a lot of drama. There's not a lot of this. And people are like, I can't trust this because this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel, it's supposed to be painful. Love is supposed to be hard. Love is supposed to
Wow,
be like we have
totally.
to chase each other, or they have to be outside with the boombox in the rain in order for me to feel loved. It can't be just somebody who shows up and brings me chicken soup and wants me to have a nice day, you know?
Oh my God, you
So
said that so well.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Because when we're used to
this is
being
why I do
mistreated,
6 month programs, right? Because I wish I could give it like little snappies, and I hope some of this is helpful. But yeah, there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot to unpack with it.
there's
Yeah.
definitely a lot to. I didn't mean to interrupt you there because
No,
I'm
no,
so.
no.
I was thinking just because, yeah, because you said it so eloquently that we can become comfortable not being treated well, and I don't even mean about full scale abuse. That's codependency to the nth, right? And we're
Yeah,
not
sure.
just saying to that degree, but even just on the smaller level. Looks like you froze there a little bit.
Oh,
Are you there, Amber?
I'm here. I'm
There we go.
here. And
But I can
I
just
always
cut.
freeze on an ugly face. Sorry, guys.
I can cut that. I can cut that part out. Don't worry about it. But how we can become comfortable being mistreated, even if it seems, if it's not like such blatant mistreatment, it can be somebody, like you said, loving on you. We can become comfortable not being treated well, and we're looking to have it confirmed. And like you said, that person who's not a good fit, well, unhealthy in an unhealthy way might be,
Mm,
but they're agreeing, they're giving us what we're looking for, right? Is to confirm that we're
mm.
not lovable or we're not.
Unworthy, where, yeah, well, so that's why, again, as a matchmaker, as much as I love matchmaking, that I find that a lot of people have things to wrestle with before they're truly ready to be match made. And one of the biggest hurdles, and there's going to be a lot of people who are going to argue about this, but it's the spark, the thunderbolt. It's that thing when you meet someone and you just know within 3 seconds of meeting them that that's my person. Mm, maybe. And yes, it has worked out for people in the past, but oftentimes that's actually a trauma response because
Mhm.
whether or not you actually know it, there's something about that person that you identify with and it isn't always good. Okay. So that's why somebody who just like, but I felt the spark. Yeah, but they're abusive. Yeah, but I felt the spark. Right.
Right,
Because that's
right.
the same level of abuse that you got at home. Oh, well, wait a minute. And then when they meet somebody who's actually safe and kind and not abusive to whatever degree of abuse there is, because let's be honest, there's multiple shades of what that looks like, is that oftentimes they feel boring, right? And so there's like truly bored, right? Like there's no mental stimulation, or there's bored as in like this feels a little too safe for me.
Yes.
So I want to go back to the person who causes drama and chaos in my life because I'm much more familiar with chaos and drama. So, that's the thing is that people, they have what they want. I'm not here to ever sit there and try and tell somebody to completely radically transform what it is they want. And then, because it's safer and then they don't quite feel good in that relationship, but rather have a healthy relationship with what's so. And find a person with whom you can have a healthy relationship where you still have that fun push and pull and you still have a spark, there's chemistry, but not in that unhealthy, like feeding into your self-doubt, insecurity, loneliness way. Because the worst kind of relationship you can ever possibly be in is the one that makes you feel lonely. That's the worst.
Oh my gosh, totally. Like
Yeah.
lonely, lonely together. I tell you, Amber, I've seen that a long time ago back in college with a friend.
Mm,
And she was just with somebody who wasn't healthy.
yeah.
And then she dated somebody who was sending her roses and doing all these things. And
Yeah.
she was bored.
Yeah.
Not you say, not a mental stimulation board, just it felt so out of her
Yeah.
wheelhouse, and it didn't matter that we were all very lovingly and kindly sharing with her, like, "Are you sure about,
Blind spots, baby.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I really but it just shows you the power of the unconscious, the stuff that's in the vault.
Yeah.
Like it's like you said, the people showing up just wearing a different outfit because we didn't fix what's in here.
Yeah. Well, and that's honestly why we need coaches. That's why we need support networks. I mean, everyone has their different modalities. Some people love therapy, some people love coaching, some people love group programs, some people,
Right.
but the point is to have something because like, yes, of course, it would be nice if we could figure everything out on our own, but that's why we have college educations. That's why we have teachers. That's why we have mentors. That's why we have other people in our lives, whatever their label is to help guide us towards that thing that we want to be, we wish we had more of, but in a loving and an empowering way, because every person is a lesson. Every
Oh,
experience is a lesson.
totally.
Not every person, not every experience is a blessing,
But a lesson.
but definitely a lesson. So
That
if
was
you're
so
wise,
Oprah,
yeah, yeah.
and I love her. We're very good friends. She just isn't aware. But I
That's
just
so weird. Me too. We're not having tea with her next Sunday, right?
are you're in her friends group too? See, I don't know how we haven't met yet. But I
Yeah,
mean, that was such an Oprah thing to say. Like, it's so true because,
yeah.
and who else says this? This is another wisdom bomb. Oh, Tony Robbins says when personal growth stops, so does happiness. Yeah, we
Mm.
gravitate to the comfort zone. Like, I think sometimes we need a little rest. But in reality, if we reside there, we become stagnant like a pond.
Yeah. And the truth is some people are fine with that. Right? There's no judgment. Like the thing is that the beautiful thing about being human is that we have free will. We have choice. We're able to kind of make decisions for ourselves and sometimes they're not always the best decision, but guess what? If you feel satisfied with your decision, then own it. right? Because the thing is that your character is also knowing that, like, yeah, behind closed doors, I'm a total mess. I love it. I love my mess. Great. Well, then find other people who love your mess too. Wonderful.
I love how you put that. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. So it sounds like a nice natural place to wind up. So here we have the amazing Amber DeVos, who is a dating and love life coach with the Seduxe, which is her business. So anyone who's looking to reach out to Amber, all of her information is going to be right beneath the episode, or you can reach out to her wherever you'd like. And I'd like
LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube.
all of it.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, just to really support people. So if any of you out there would love a little bit more personalized attention, if you heard something that you wanted to dive a little bit deeper, or you have some questions on, I do offer strategy calls, what I like to call the solving single strategy calls. And so that is something that you can absolutely sign up with me, and you can find that either on my Instagram or on my website. 45 minutes. I ask you some deeper questions, give you some things to think about. Then obviously, if it's appropriate, we can talk about working together. But the point is that I love to give people nuggets of things. So at the bare minimum, at least go check out my Instagram. I actually did a new reel last night just about my 3 favorite flirting techniques. So, if you want to learn how to be a better flirter, go check it out.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, all right. So, thank you, Amber, for spending your life minutes in this way to be with all of us.
Absolutely. My pleasure. And thank you so much for the invitation. And thank you to everyone who made it to the end. We love you for that.